You never truly know how far someone will go until they decide your child's life-saving medical equipment is ugly. That morning, I wasn't just a father defending property. I was a father defending my son's lifeline. And I never imagined an HOA Karen would break into my yard, unplug his medical generator, and nearly end his life. All because she thought it ruined the neighborhood aesthetic. My name is Daniel. My son Luke is 7. He has a rare respiratory condition that requires a specialized breathing device powered by a backup generator in case of outages. It hums quietly, tucked behind our house. It isn't loud, flashy, or dangerous. But to one woman, our HOA's self-appointed enforcer, it was an eyesore. Her name? Pamela. But everyone called her a Karen long before we moved in. The day before everything went insane, she marched up to our door, clipboard in hand, sunglasses like she was patrolling a crime scene. "This generator violates visual uniformity code," she snapped. "Remove it in 72 hours or face fines," I calmly explained. "It powers my son's medical equipment. Removing it isn't an option. We have medical exemption paperwork." She smirked like she'd already won. Paperwork or not, the neighborhood rules apply. No exceptions. I shut the door politely, but her last words echoed. "If you don't take care of it, I will." I brushed it off. People threaten a lot in HOA arguments. But nobody is heartless enough to actually put a child at risk. Right? The next morning, everything felt normal, until the power flickered. Then alarms. Luke gasped for air. His machine beeped frantically. The generator wasn't kicking in. I ran to the backyard, heart pounding, and froze. The gate was open. The generator cords were cut, and Karen stood there holding scissors. She looked proud. "Problem solved," she said coldly. "Now the neighborhood won't look trashy." I didn't think. I yelled, "Get away!" and sprinted to reconnect emergency backup lines. Luke's monitor inside let out a sound no parent ever forgets. A desperate, choking alarm. This wasn't HOA drama anymore. This was life and death, and she didn't care. She just crossed her arms, saying, "Rules are rules." In that moment I realized she wasn't just dangerous. She was delusional. And the police? Well, they learned that the hard way too. I screamed for my wife to call 911 as I slammed the manual override. My hands shook. My mind raced. It felt like time slowed. Like every second was stolen from my son by someone who thought homeowners association bylaws were more sacred than human life. Sirens were already echoing down the street. The police arrived fast. Lights flashing, tires screeching. Because the dispatcher heard the words no emergency operator ever ignores. Medical device tampering, child in distress. 2 officers sprinted toward me as I knelt by the generator, manually stabilizing the power flow. Luke's breathing monitor still beeped inside. Every beep was a nightmare. "Sir, what happened?" one officer asked. I pointed at Karen, who was now, unbelievably, calmly folding her arms like she had just trimmed a bush. She broke into my yard and cut the generator that powers my son's medical equipment, Karen scoffed. "Oh, don't be dramatic. It's just a generator." It violated the HOA code. He refused compliance. The officer stared at her, stunned. "Ma'am, a child is inside struggling to breathe because of what you did." She actually waved him off. "Kids are dramatic. He'll be fine. You'd understand if you lived here. We have standards." That was the moment the second officer's expression changed. Not confusion, not annoyance. Alarm. He pulled out his radio immediately. "Request EMS backup. Minor with compromised airway equipment." Karen rolled her eyes. "This is ridiculous. All of this over a buzzing metal box. You can barely hear it. And the color. It completely clashes with the neighborhood tone." Tone. She said tone while my son fought for oxygen. My wife burst out of the house crying, clutching Luke's emergency bag. "He's turning pale. I can't get him stable." Karen muttered, "Some people will fake anything for attention and sympathy." One of the officers stepped forward. "Ma'am, I need you to stop talking." "No," she snapped. "I am the HOA compliance chair." I am protecting property values, and you just committed felony vandalism and endangered a child," he replied coldly. That finally wiped the smugness off her face. "Felony?" she whispered, like the word itself insulted her. He nodded. "Yes, ma'am. Tampering with medical support equipment is a criminal offense." Karen took a step back. "You can't arrest me. I'm on the board, and I'm a police officer," he answered. "Turn around." When he reached for his cuffs, Karen shrieked. "This is harassment." "I know my rights," my wife yelled from the doorway, voice cracking. "My son is dying!" The EMTs finally rushed in, and I ran inside with them to help bring Luke's breathing under control. As they worked, I could hear Karen screaming outside. A piercing, entitled Howl, as if she were the victim. Then through the chaos, one EMT whispered to me, "You're lucky you called fast. Another couple minutes." My soul dropped into my stomach. Karen didn't just break rules. She almost killed our child. The screaming outside didn't stop, not even when the EMTs stabilized Luke and moved him to the ambulance. But inside our home, the noise faded. All I could hear was the soft, mechanical rhythm of my son breathing again. Relief is strange. It comes like a wave, but behind it is exhaustion, shaking, anger, disbelief. I kissed Luke's forehead and whispered, "Daddy's here. You're safe." But I knew safety was fragile. When I finally stepped outside, Karen was still arguing, voice strained and wild. "You can't do this. You don't understand how this neighborhood works. He is violating rules and endangering property values." Her voice cracked. This wasn't confidence anymore. It was panic. Thin, frantic panic. The officer kept his posture calm but stern. "Ma'am, you cut power to a medical device. A child almost died. Property values are irrelevant." She shook her head, trembling. "I was told no exceptions. I was told to enforce all visuals." The officer asked, "Told by who?" Karen pointed down the street. "The HOA president. He approved the removal." My stomach twisted again. Was someone else involved? The officer exchanged a glance with his partner. "We'll speak to him." "But you made the decision to trespass and damage medical equipment." The handcuffs clicked. Karen flinched like metal burned. For the first time, she looked small. Not powerful, not righteous, just small. As they escorted her to the cruiser, neighbors peeked from windows and porches. Some looked shocked. Others whispered. But one man walked straight toward me. HOA president. Suit. Clipboard. Expression like polished steel. "Daniel," he said evenly, "I apologize for the distress. However, the generator does violate community exterior guidelines." I stared at him in disbelief. It kept my son alive. His eyes didn't soften. "Rules must apply equally." The officer overheard. "Sir, are you aware this generator powers life support equipment?" The president didn't blink. "That is irrelevant to aesthetic policy." The officer stepped closer. "Actually, it's very relevant to state law." The president's jaw tightened. "This community maintains standards." "At the expense of a child's life?" I asked. He didn't answer. He simply turned and walked away. Not even shame, just indifference. And in that moment I realized something worse than one. Karen. A system built for Karens, protecting them. And this fight was far from over. Neighbors gathered, whispering, some horrified, others clearly afraid to speak. The ambulance doors shut, and I watched it pull away, knowing our battle had only just begun. HOA schedules, hearings, lawyer emails, all of it felt inevitable. They wanted a war over appearances. I was ready to fight over life. The days after the incident felt unreal, like living inside a storm that hadn't chosen whether to break or build. Luke was recovering slowly, the doctors praising how quickly we acted. But every time I looked at his breathing device, a cold shiver crawled up my spine. One flick of scissors, one entitled decision, one moment of arrogance, and my son almost didn't make it. Karen was released pending charges, but rumors spread fast. Some neighbors avoided us. Others left casseroles and apology cards on our porch. Truth is, trauma doesn't ease with nice gestures. They help, but the fear lingers. The anger, too. Then came the HOA emergency meeting, a special disciplinary session, their email called it. I walked in carrying medical documents, photos of the cut cables, and the hospital report. Karen sat at one end of the table, red-eyed but still defiant. The HOA president sat in the center like he was presiding over a courtroom. He cleared his throat. This meeting concerns violation of property appearance, regulations, and subsequent disturbance in the community. That was it? Not attempted harm. Not illegal tampering. A disturbance. My jaw clenched. I stood. She cut power to life support equipment. My child nearly died. The room murmured. Soft gasps. Shifting bodies. Karen glared at me. If you had complied with rules— Enough, I interrupted sharply. Rules don't outrank life. For once, she had no smirk, just bitterness. The president sighed. We understand emotions are high. However, the generator is medically mandated. I finished. I dropped documents on the table. State law protects medical equipment. Tampering with it is criminal. You don't get to rewrite that. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then a voice from the back. He's right. A neighbor stood, shaking. My husband uses dialysis. If someone touched our equipment— She stopped, fighting tears. Others nodded. The room shifted, power slipping from Karen and her enablers. Even board members avoided her gaze. The police officer from that day walked in next, uniform crisp. Update, he announced. The district attorney filed charges. Criminal mischief, trespassing, reckless endangerment, and interference with medical equipment, a felony. Karen's breath cracked. Her face drained. But I was enforcing rules. And nearly killed a child doing it, he said. That's not enforcement. That's negligence. The president swallowed hard. In light of circumstances, the board votes to remove Karen from any HOA authority. Hands rose. Unanimous. Karen burst into tears, but no one moved to comfort her. After, the officer approached me. Your documentation helped, and we're adding an order. The HOA cannot interfere with medical devices again. I nodded, exhausted, relieved. Not triumphant, just grateful we were heard. Later, as I tucked Luke into bed, he whispered, Daddy, are we safe now? I held his tiny hand, heartbeat steady for the first time in days. Yes, buddy, we are. And no one will touch your machine again. Outside, the generator hummed quietly. Not a noise, but a promise. Safety over appearances, life over ego. Karen fought for aesthetic rules. We fought for a beating heart. And in the end, humanity won. If you found justice in this story, hit subscribe, drop a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps these stories alive.